So I would like to ask Dr. Irene Gatruludin to please join us. Dr. Irene is an expert in the field, and she's prepared a presentation to provide some insightful light into the topic. So. Thank you. Can we give the youth a round of applause? This is incredible work, the passion you have. You basically stole my thunder. So, some of the slides I'm actually going to skip over because some of what this is already covered, so that actually makes this conversation go along. We can move on to the Q&A section. So I'm basically going to be talking about what's the research been done in the US. I'm just going to particularly try and focus on some of the trends that the growing trends in teens and why they should be of concern to us. As said earlier by Winnie, if you look at the statistics, the US ranks is next to Romania and Bulgaria, some of the poorest European countries. Switzerland having one of the lowest rates for pregnancies for every 1,000, and then Bulgaria being highest, and the US is not doing so well. So Canada is doing a really, really good job. But the numbers vary for depending on what year these were taken. These were 2008, 2009. So the US is a total of 4 million births, 4 billion births, and 1,100 teens have giving birth every year. We're not talking about being pregnant, we're just talking about the ones who give birth. We're not talking about the ones who have abortions or whatever happens in between, or have a pregnancy loss because of maybe they're not able to carry the baby or something doesn't go well. So it's even worse when you're talking about 1 out of every 10 teens will have a baby. When we talk about just the older teenagers, 15 to 17, just that's 1 out of every 4. So if you look at just overall teen births, the most teen births are occurring in the older teens, 15 to 17. And there's 200, so most of them, the bulk of them, at least almost about 1/4 of them, 1/5, 20% is from older teens. So looking at to really understand how bad the problem is, if you look at the demographics, this is from 2010 census data, 70% of teenagers are white, the remaining 25% or so are white, black, or Hispanic. But when you actually look at births, the second pie chart, on the right, you will notice like more than 50% of the births are occurring with Hispanics and blacks. So the burden of births is actually occurring in minorities. This actually, the second pie chart on the right doesn't include all, doesn't add up to 100% because there are teens who are Asians, who are biracial, and other categories as far as their race, ethnicity. So this is just looking at a snapshot. When you talk about any year teens have a pregnancy, 80% you have 10 births, 8 out of 10 of those births will be a first time a girl getting pregnant. And the remaining are a girl is either getting pregnant second time, third time, fourth time, or more. This is just for 1 year. But once a girl is pregnant the first time, there's a chance that she'll get pregnant over and over again. This is just for 1 year. So obviously to get pregnant, you have to be sexually involved. So I'm going to go through a couple of things which I want to draw to your attention, which should beg the issue. And even bring up the point of why it's also really important to also have this message cater to male children, not just to the females. So looking at sexual involvement, you start out at age 12, very, very few teenagers have been sexually involved. You have the green one is for the males, the females it's in red, and throughout the whole, like if you look at every bar chart, all the way from age 12 to age 20, boys are more likely to be sexually involved than girls, but it's not until about age 17 or so, like you're having equal numbers of boys and girls being pregnant. Now, this is the other thing. Of course, you have to have sexual involvement. In order to have a baby or get pregnant, you have to have gone through the sexual changes where your body gets you ready to have a baby. So I'll focus on a couple of things with males, the group that we don't tend to focus on when it comes to teen pregnancy. So this is results from 2012, 2013, and studies have been done where we've looked at male children and looked at the different parts that develop at different times, the sexual organs that are getting prepared, having pubic hair below the waist, a lot of other changes in voices and other things, but I'm focusing on the things that are very central to being pregnancy. So you start out, notice I have in red is the blacks, I have them red so you could really focus on the group that has the biggest problem. The green one is whites, and the yellow is Hispanics. You can say from age 6 all the way to age 16, black male children are the ones who are starting to show expression of developing, the sexual organs developing. So age 7, you still see blacks really standing out, very much so different from their black and the white and Hispanic peers. So if we look at age 10, by age 10, more than half of black male children are starting to have their sexual organs develop, and their Hispanic friends, Hispanic peers, not even 30%, and black and whites, just a little bit over 20%. So you can see there's a real reason for us to be concerned. Just the idea that, the younger you start to have this sexual development, the more likely you are to have a pregnancy occur. A similar pattern is also evident when you look at pubic hair. Black, as in the previous slide, black male children are the ones who also start to develop earlier. So that by age 10, again, more than half of boys already have started to show early signs of developing pubic hair. And again, Hispanics and whites are also much below 50%, less than 30%. With females, it's a similar pattern, but there's not as much vintage data. I was not able to find as much with females. But we know for sure as the years have gone by, in 1966, black females were reaching puberty or having a menstrual period, which was so easy to tell when a female is going through that, because the moment a girl has her menstrual period, she's obviously, ready possibly to get pregnant. So, first menstrual period, slightly less than age 13 for black females in 1966. Whites were experiencing puberty earlier than blacks. By the time in 1966, the Hispanic data was not being collected. So the next year I have is about 20 years later. And as you will see, at this point, blacks are having, at the point where in 1988 to 1999, 1994, and 1999 to 2000, in these two later decades, you will see that black females are the ones who experience puberty at a younger age than the Hispanic and white peers. So it's not really clear why this is happening, but this is something that's happening throughout the world. When they started to look at, like I actually had this come across results where they showed, like in Canada and the UK, it's certainly happening that girls are having puberty at a younger age, and that's the same thing is happening with their male counterparts. So this is obviously happening in blacks, it's happening across all races, but this effect is most profound with blacks and also less with Hispanics. And black girls are reaching puberty about 1 year to a year earlier than their white peers. And it's not really clear why this is happening, but it's one thing that's really obvious. Of course, all the people are not starving. There's not that many places people are starving. So as you have better diets, you have obesity, and one thing is people start to gain weight, they start to go through puberty earlier. That's just like, in order for the hormones to run through, we need fat to be able to produce the hormones that usually start to trigger the process of having sexual development. And then having a sedentary lifestyle. Most of us are not farming anymore. We're eating a lot of carb diets and eating a lot of fatty foods. That also helps contribute to why that will happen. The other thing which I've heard also is also chemicals, but it's not really clear what chemicals that are, are maybe causing this to happen. So really, in summary, this really begs the issue that now that, we obviously know that this is happening more with us, more so than other races. We should really be concerned with our black children, male children, and also female children. Thank you.
Which is the year a mom should start talking about sex to their girls?
I'd say around maybe 11 to 12. And of course, when you talk to them about it, you have to be cognizant of their age. Okay, so you're not going to be explicit about it, but I think what generally kids want to know at that point is what it's for. For instance, to explain it's for instance, you can explain that it's what happens when, a female and male are in love in a relationship, and if your belief is that it should be after marriage, then you want to emphasize that as well. But you don't want to answer the explicit stuff, of course. If you leave it up to the media or to social media, to peers, you're going to get something crazy. So you want to cover bases. Does that answer your question? Whoever asked that question?
If you don't want to come up.
Nobody wants to claim it.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I just probably think it could start a little sooner, like the sexual conversation probably around 11, but given that a lot of girls are actually single to have messed with periods or having changes, it's probably a good idea to start sooner. And in fact, I'd be radical enough to say you can start, the kids are old enough, you're teaching about their hands, legs, their eyes, and all that. You can teach them about their body parts, about their waist. Because, God forbid, if any time you'd have somebody touch your child inappropriately, if you were ever to go to court, actually, if you call this place down here, that whole thing, case is going to see your children have to know your body parts. If anybody ever would touch them inappropriately, they'll be able to say, somebody touched me, X, Y, and Z, a place that's not appropriate. It's really important that your children know that, just for themselves, to know this is my body, it's not for people to touch, but just for them to even start to know, and you can even start that conversation. So by the time we're having this conversation about, sex and all that, they already are familiar, they already know their body parts. It's a much easier conversation to have.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and get Moses to take this next question. So it says on sexualization, does cuckoo culture, good or bad, is cuckoo culture, I'm just going to go ahead and rephrase, is cuckoo culture good or bad in relative, compare cuckoo culture and Western culture. Is one better than the other? And what should parents do if their daughter or son don't listen to the advices that parents have for them?
Okay, we'll start with Western culture. As they presented earlier, sex is glorified and romanticized, right? So we get all supposed good from it. And from our culture, it's supposed to be secret. That's something that you don't talk to your parents about, you don't talk to your friends. Well, you talk to your friends, but not your parents about it. So, yeah. I would say neither one is right. I would say, for me, you have to bridge the both, right? Where if your parent is teaching you, the cuckoo culture alone, and you grew up in America, you have to take a little bit of both, where you have to understand that what you're being shown on TV, movies, in the classroom, with friends, that's not necessarily how it is in real life, right? But with what your parents might not talk to you about, you have to engage them to try to keep that knowledge. So I would say neither, but both.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So some people have made comments, and James, someone said that your comment stood out. It was eye-opening for them, for you to say that we're not stupid, we're not blind, we're aware, just that we need your help. You said something to that extent, do you remember? Oh, thanks. So that comment stood out to them, and I'm going to go ahead and address this question to you, although it wasn't necessarily something that you spoke on. It was just something that someone asked, and it was, can a boyfriend move into the girl's parents' house, and how would you deal with the situation where the couple is so Western to the point where they feel like they want to take on Western culture to that point? Take your time.
Wow, great question, whoever that was. One more time, please. Wow.
That's okay, I'll repeat. So, can a boyfriend move into the girl's parents' house if the couple is Western enough to feel as though that is correct for them? Is that a plausible option? Is that even something to do?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for Kikuyu youth, for Sudanese youth, for Black youth. They want to move in to the parents' house, right? The girl is pregnant, and everybody knows. Is that even something to do? Do you move into your parents' house? Gita says no, but go ahead, James.
Simple answer is no, but if you do make that move, make sure that you have a good work ethic and you are able to provide shelter and stability. Even though you are living with your parents, you still need your own form of shelter and stability for the family that you just push yourself into. So, short answer, no. Long answer, just make sure you're financially stable, physically, mentally, and emotionally ready for everything that's going on with it. Ready for everything that's going on.
Okay, so Amy asked the question. Amy's name was here, I just didn't want to out Amy. So Amy, would you like to come up and clarify what the question was? Yeah, I can't do with reading everybody's writing, but...
I apologize. I didn't think someone else was going to read my question. But this is what I meant. In our society here in the US, I have seen, first going back to the whole community, when there's a relationship going on, we have what's called adoptment. The girl moves into the boy's house. If in the whole community, that's the norm. But coming here in the US, I have seen boyfriends moving into the girl's house with the girl's parents. I have seen that. But since we have the forum today, I want to see the perception from you, the youth. Would you comfortably move into the girl's parents' house as we see it happening in America? What do you want to say to that? That's what I meant.
No.
We just asked you, does it remain? Okay. Alright, so, well, this is interesting. This diverts from us, kind of puts the light on you. Noella. Sorry to put you out there if you didn't want to be put out there, but you just, it happened. So, she says, we heard from the youth. Could we hear a word from the parents about this topic? Auntie, would you like to speak? I'm putting you on the spot. You gonna come? Auntie Jacinta? Thank you for coming up. So the question is that she wants to hear your opinion on the topic that we were having today. We spoke, she wants to hear her parents' opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. My niece, thank you. I'm really pleased that at least our youth can stand up and have this kind of talk. I just feel like the cuckoos are way up here. I have not seen young girls and boys in front of everybody, in front of many people like this and talk about sexuality. Because, for us, we grew up in a way, nobody even talked about it to you. You learn from your own way. I don't know where we learn it. And most of the time is like, when you're getting ready to get married, that is when your aunt they're the one coming to talk to you about it. But I'm so grateful. I'm so appreciative for the youth to stand up and talk. Let me give you one thing. There was something in school when the kids will come with a letter from school for the parents to ask some questions about sexuality, about puberty, and they brought that thing, you have to sign it. But then they have some questions which you have to answer, and it was so hard for me to answer that question. So it's like, most of the time I was like, okay, go to your dad. I mean, you like to push it away. And then the dad will be like, you know, go to your mom. So we've been kind of, you know, but thank God we are in the United States. We have to learn hard way, as they put it, as parents. You know, we really need to have that open conversation with our kids. We need to know what they're doing at school. We need to know when they get back from school, how are your day. I mean, those things are really make them happy. And even though I went through hard way, at least I managed a little bit. Here and there, even though still with the dad, we're still struggling a little bit. Because it's not our culture. Yeah, but we are learning. And I have nothing much to say, actually.